Oftentimes when we talk about Chinese cars, we always talk about their value for money, because what's not to like, they really tend to throw every bits and pieces available into their model, so much so even a relatively affordable one feels very premium. But what if a Chinese brand claims they have created a luxury premium SUV model? Well, you got this thing. This is of course the Omoda C9 in its top spec all-wheel drive version, and we'll see what's so good about JQ Malaysia's latest SUV model. Oh, is it JQ or Omoda? This is Caricarz. Welcome back to Muklis. Alright, let's get things out of the way first. So, the Omoda C9 here is an Omoda branded SUV, but in Malaysia it is being sold and being taken care of by JQ Malaysia, where they also handle all the after-sales supports for the Omoda C9 here. Okay, not to be confused with its smaller sibling, which is of course the Omoda 5, which is being sold and being marketed here under the Cherry Malaysia brand. So yes, that's a bit complicated. So the question is, why does JQ Malaysia partaking in selling the Omoda model here in Malaysia? Well, that's because in some overseas market, both Omoda and JQ brands are being marketed together as Omoda JQ ONG, or orange juice if you will. But ironically, the Omoda C9 is actually based on yet another model which is under yet another Cherry sub-brand known as Exceed, and in China this car is known as Exceed Yaoguang or Exceed RX. Confused? Well, anyway, in terms of design, you can see this car looks very commanding, very stature, and you can see it gains some inspirations from many other luxury SUVs out there. At the front here, you can see it comes with this diamond pattern front grille that looks very similar to Lexus spindle grid design, but it looks pretty nice in terms of execution at least. But of course, this car also comes with full LED headlights, and if you notice, it comes with this Sigma shaped LED DRL. So this car is actually suitable for those Sigma boys out there. Sigma, Sigma boy, Sigma boy, Sigma boy. Alright, in terms of side, the Omoda C9 is actually quite a big car. I mean, if you look from the side profile, even the wheels are quite big, this car. It uses this 20-inch multi-spoke alloys using Michelin E-Primacy EV-specific tires measuring 245/50, which is quite big there, I say. But from the side, you can also see some design cues inspired from Range Rover models, including this front fender trim here, the sharp shoulder line, and of course, the overall sporty coupe roofline gives the car a very sporty look compared to other conventional SUVs out there. But in terms of dimension, this car measures over 4.77 meters long, so it is almost on par with any other D-segment SUVs out there, so it's a big car. And at the rear here, you can see the coupe roofline looks very sexy, but it also comes with this roof-mounted spoiler. And at the tailgate, you get this full-width LED taillights, and if you notice down here, you get this quad tailpipes, which is quite sporty, but it's a Bluetooth tailpipe.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
Alright, jumping on board the Omoda C9, then you'll immediately notice that this is actually a pretty premium and a pretty large car, because once you open the door, you'll be greeted with lots of premium functions, including these buttons to open the door. You don't need to use any lever because they've got powered buttons to open the door. And you're also greeted with these two front seats that not only powered, heated, ventilated, and also comes with both massage and memory function, which is very complete. And for the all-wheel drive version, it uses this pure leather upholstery, which feels quite nice and definitely looks premium. Okay, as for the front desk setup, it is quite typical Chinese car to say the least, because you've got the same dual screen setup as many Cherry models out there. 24.6 inch, this is for the meter cluster. There's a HUD, and the infotainment here of course supports wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay off the bat. But unfortunately, from my experience, it can get quite laggy at times. It's not as smooth as many other Chinese SUVs I've tried before, but at least the function is there, you can use it immediately. Okay, in terms of steering wheel, it certainly looks premium because it comes with this leather upholstery and it is actually heated. But one good thing about the steering wheel is actually powered, because you can only adjust using buttons here instead of just pull like your traditional cars there. But the steering wheel is quite nice. You got lots of buttons, but the buttons actually, it feels a bit cheap. It looks nice, but once you press it, it has this very cheap feeling sound, which is not so ideal. Same goes to the pedal shifters. It looks nice, but it does not feel that premium, unfortunately. Same goes to these fake wood veneers, because in photos it looks quite nice, looks quite premium, but once you get to it, it can get quite glossy, it's quite scratch prone and everything, so it's not that premium. But I mean, there's a compromise, but at least you got tons of soft touch materials out there. Okay, speaking of center console, one good thing about this car is actually they still retain lots of physical and dedicated buttons and controls. For example, you can see at the center you got dedicated dials for the climate control, even one for the driving mode and everything, which is quite good. Even at the door here, you got physical buttons and control for the driver memory seat and everything, which is quite good, I have to say. And down here, of course, you got some storage cup holders. You even got the chill storage here, so you can store your desserts and everything. You got wireless charging pads. So in terms of other amenities, of course, you still got ambient lighting system and the 14 speaker Sony audio system. It's not, I mean, you cannot expect it to sound like a power assembly kit, but it is still quite good. Let's have a try. Right, folks, live at the back seat of the Omoda C9. It's a very spacious one indeed, because yes, it is a mid-size SUV, but it comes strictly with 2 rows of seat and a 5-seater configuration. So as a result, you got tons of legroom and surprisingly ample headroom despite the sporty roofline, because I'm standing 175 cm tall. As you can see, I still got ample headroom, of course, also thanks to this large panoramic sunroof. Okay, if you notice, the floor is almost flat in this car, despite it comes with an overdrive setup, so meaning that theoretically you can sit 3 adults comfortably here at the back. And also, this car also comes with 3 dedicated aircon vents at the back, 2 at each B pillars and 1 at the center, so meaning that each 3 passengers at the back get their own dedicated aircon vent. You also get the vent control here. You also get the heated seat in case things get too cold and you want to feel a bit toasty and a bit warm. And you also got 2 USB charging ports down here, so charging your devices won't be a problem. But one thing I also like about this car, actually, the back seat is power adjustable just like the front one, so in case you want to relax a bit more, just press the button and off your way. And yes, not to forget, boot space is also quite decent, 660 liters as standard, and it even has a space to host a full-size spare tire, so very spacious, very practical, very premium. So when it comes to powertrain, the Malaysian spec Omoda C9 comes in just one powertrain variant. Of course, it uses this 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine, which is the same engine used on the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro, this one outputting 257 horsepower and 400 Nm of torque. But unlike the Tiggo 8 Pro, the C9 gets an 8-speed torque converter automatic transmission sourced from Aisin, Toyota's Aisin. Yes, they use a Toyota gearbox. And this being an all-wheel drive model, it goes to all 4 wheels via Jayco's proprietary RDIS all-wheel drive system with 7 distinct driving modes. Okay, 0 to 100 according to Jayco Malaysia, they claim about 8.6 seconds and a top speed of only 190 kilometers per hour. But more importantly, besides the powertrain setup, the Omoda C9 also underpins a different platform compared to other Chery based models out there, because it uses the M3X platform, which actually Chery developed, also set to be used by Jaguar Land Rover. So yes, the Omoda C9 actually gonna share the same platform with future Land Rover models out there. But more importantly, this car also comes with Omoda's proprietary CDC active suspension setup, and this is actually promising a pretty good, comfortable ride for this car. But enough talk, let's have a drive. Right, folks, so now we're behind the wheel of the Omoda C9 all-wheel drive, and the first thing you notice about this car is actually the power delivery. It's smooth, it's okay, it's quite linear, but provided that you drive it like a normal person would, because once you gun it, you can really feel there's a slight delay in terms of power delivery. Maybe it's a mixture of the 8-speed torque converter gearbox not being so responsive, but at the same time, I think the pedal feel of this car is also can feel quite off at times. But of course, we got 257 horsepower and 400 Nm of torque at your disposal, which is, I think, more than enough for a mid-size SUV. But the problem with the Omoda C9 is actually it is quite heavy. because even for its size, which is slightly smaller than something like the Volkswagen Touareg and the BMW X5, this car weighs in at 1,876 kilograms. That's almost 2,000 kilograms, which is quite heavy for this size of a car. And you can really feel the weight, especially when you go hill climbing with this car, and even when you drive this car around fast corners, because of course, this being an SUV, you cannot expect it to corner like any other sports cars or even sedans out there. You still got body rolls and everything, but you can really feel the weight once you go through corners. But with that being said, I certainly think this C9 is not meant to be driven in a very sporty manner, because this car is really all about comfort, and this is where the C9 truly shines, because comfort level on this car is quite nice. The ride is smooth even on highways or bumpy roads. Like for example, now we're driving through neighborhood areas, you can pass through any speed bumps and it doesn't really feel that jarring or too jumpy, which is a testament to the good CDC adaptive damper setup this car comes with. Okay, other than that, NVH level is also quite decent, because I just checked, the windows are quite thick. I think it's like almost like double glazed windows in many frameless door sports cars there. And the tires, they use the Michelin E-Premium C tire, which is quite expensive. The tire noise is also quite minimal, but of course, once you get on the pedal, you can still hear some of the engine roars, but I mean, it's obvious because this car is quite heavy, so you really need to push on the pedal to get the power. But other than that, it's a very smooth, very comfortable ride for passengers. So like I said just now, as long as you do gun it like a madman, this is a very decent, very demure, very smooth car for you to drive. But one problem about this car is fuel consumption, because it can get quite thirsty, because this 2-liter turbo engine, even in Tiggo 8 Pro, it's quite thirsty, and same goes to inside the C9, because I'm barely able to break the 10 km per liter mark, because most of the time it will just cap at 9.5 something like that, which is not ideal if you're on the more frugal side. But of course, it's expected, it's a heavy car, it's a big car, so yeah, fuel consumption not the best. For that, maybe you need to wait for the PHEV version, which may or may not come soon here in Malaysia. So overall, it's a comfortable ride. It's not meant to be driven like a sports car, but once you drive it like a normal car, you'll be rewarded with a very smooth and very comfortable SUV for you and your family. Okay, so when it comes to ergonomics, like I said before, I really like the Omoda C9, because unlike other Chinese cars, they still retain several physical controls and dials, like for example the driving mode, aircon, and even the seats and everything. But of course, most of the other functions are still hidden inside the infotainment settings, so you really need to get used to it. But just like I commented just now, one thing I do really like is actually the pedal position, because I tend to find that the gap between the accelerator and the brake pedals are quite close, so sometimes you can mispress both, because theoretically they say if you press both brake and the accelerator, you can take a screenshot of your car. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but yes, the gap is quite close, so sometimes you can get away if you want to press the brake, so it can get quite daunting, but you just need to get used to it. But other than that, ergonomics, it's okay, you need to get used to it. But the problem actually is the software itself, because like I mentioned just now, it can get quite laggy at times, and I have to say that sometimes can distract you from having a good driving experience, especially when it comes to others, because unfortunately for this car, despite all its fancy bells and whistles, the ADAS system is not the greatest, unfortunately, because the adaptive cruise control and then the smart pilot assist, dare I say, is not so smart, because it hardly detects any road, any lines on the road. Even on like new highways, I tried it, it cannot really detect that much, and it can get quite jittery, get quite sensitive at times, so it's not as refined or as quote-unquote Malaysian ready like many other modern cars out there. So if you ask me honestly, the ADAS function is not really that usable in this car. But other things, like for example, like the rear cross traffic alert, the front collision warning and everything, blind spot monitor, that one all works pretty well. But I'm talking about the adaptive cruise control, the smart pilot assist and everything per se, so that one is not really the best. But of course, passive safety is more than enough. You got 540-degree camera view, you got full-size spare tire with TPMS, which is very good for long distance travel in case any mishaps happening. So yeah, I would really say if Jayco Malaysia have decided to, I mean, this thing you can just adjust it with like software update and everything. I think maybe we just give a little bit update in the software setup in terms of smoothness, in terms of the ADAS function and everything. I think it will be a much more refined car for you to drive, but overall it's okay. Alright, so in conclusion, how good a premium Chinese SUV get? Well, in my honest opinion, I would say they're pretty good. They certainly got certain merits in some departments. It's pretty well designed. I mean, it looks quite nice, but of course there's still a lot of room for improvement. Of course, we'll talk about how the driving dynamic is good, but still not on par with some Japanese or even Korean SUVs out there. But one thing that the Omoda C9 got right is, of course, in terms of comfort, in terms of luxury and everything, it is already dialed down in that department. But then, after you considering the affordable price of this car, then suddenly the Omoda C9 becomes a no-brainer choice, because in this all-wheel drive form, the top spec all-wheel drive form, it only retails at 188,800 ringgit, which is under 200,000 ringgit and cheaper than some Korean or Japanese SUVs out there. So it is really a very good proposition by A7. Of course, not to forget, it also comes with a 7-year 150,000 kilometers vehicle warranty. So what's not to like? So at the end of the day, although how hard we may try to deny the value to money proportion of Chinese car, it can hit you right at the back, because let's be honest, the Chinese are back with the bang in our market. So there you have it. If you got the money, then why not try the Omoda C9?